conversation.
Oh, I see. So it's limited to what? How many people on this?
Good evening yet again.
I think Reinhard will explain now. Yeah.
Exactly. We're just going live. We're going live on Facebook in just that second here with Daniel Marshall. Happy Easter to all of you. Hope you had a most wonderful and most enjoyable weekend with your family and beloved ones. I'm beyond grateful to have so many wonderful people here at the lounge. We have Daniel Marshall joining us tonight. We have plenty of people joining us live over there on Facebook. As always, just some housekeeping rules to let you know how we're running this whole thing. For all of you guys here at the lounge, please feel free to ask all your questions, put them in the chat box down below, raise your hand, just let us know if you have a question and we relay that to Danielle as soon as possible. And for all of you guys joining us on Facebook, please make sure that you hit us up via direct message or put your comments into the box down below. Let us know your questions and we're more than happy to answer all of them. So without further ado, Daniel, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you on. I'll light up my cigar and, well, please say hello to all the wonderful people from the cigar family joining us tonight for an Easter Sunday special.
Thank you. Well, I thank everybody, all my partners and friends and brothers out there for spending time with us here on a very special day where we're going to celebrate hope majorly in many different ways, whether it's Passover or Easter. And I'm really, really excited to be able to share these moments with you. I was just thinking that, I would talk about the modern day campfire, and this is the ultimate. I can't imagine a more modern day campfire than the virtual experience that Reinhold and Reinhard and Sabine have set up here. So bravo to you all, and thank you for making this happen. Hopefully you keep it going.
I know it's wonderful that you're mentioning that point. You won't believe it. Actually, I wrote that one down and I wanted to start with that as a question because I love your quote of the modern day campfire. Give us a little bit of a background story. How did you actually get to that modern day campfire that we also see in your background? How did it all start for you?
Well, that line came about when I was sitting in a cigar lounge, which was Edward and Eddie Shahakian's cigar lounge at the Bulgari Hotel in London. And we were doing a very special, exclusive worldwide premiere of the Golden Cigar. And we were pairing it with some of the finest Balvenie. And we had Kirsten Grant there, who's the great-great-great-granddaughter of William Grant. We had Sam Simmons, the global brand ambassador. So we had like all the people who knew about this wonderful brand Balvenie. And I stood up to say a few words, and I was mesmerized there to be in London, where I started my whole career. I have my whole career to thank for really starting with an English firm and starting in London and in that beautiful city that totally inspired me. And I said to the group, I said, listen, I've always pondered, and of course, I'm also stunned because in London, as all you know, it's very Cuban-centric, and Roy comes up against this from Davidoff every day. Davidoff distributes all my cigars in Northern Europe. And I think London is one of those cities that is the last of the Mohicans to enjoy New World cigars, as Scott Vines coined. I think he coined that phrase. And I think that's a great way to describe non-Cubans as an example. But so I was sitting there and I was standing and talking and saying, wow, everybody's enjoying Nicaraguan cigars in like Cuba kind of centric, you can't get them to budge. They don't know anything but Cuba, Cuba, Cuba. And so it was a real moment and it totally got me emotional. And I said, I've always wondered what brought people together. What could it possibly be? Because it's inexplicable, the power of this, what we have here, what we all share and what we all enjoy, because we're drawn to it. It makes friendships. We make businesses over it. We solve problems. We make problems. We create all kinds of noise and solve so many things, including reduce our stress. And I said, it's got to be in our DNA. It has to be a campfire. It has to go back beyond because it's something subconscious. You give this to somebody on the street or you give it to somebody and they're going to go, wow. They don't even know it's valuable or not valuable, but they're going to feel like that you just gave them one of your children almost. And that's why. That doesn't make any sense to me unless it's deeper than reality deeper than what we think. So it's from our DNA, so from campfire days, and that's where the idea of this is really what we're doing. We don't sell cigars, we're selling the modern day campfire. And I think that's what joins us together, the DNA and our
doesn't make any sense to me.
So, Daniel, did you always feel that way? Do you think you're like a natural host? Did you get that from your family background? Or at what point in your life did you realize this is really what you're all about and this is what drives you?
Well, what drove me, I think, is my love of people. From a very young age, I always loved people and interesting people and people that I would love to listen to, whether it's my grandmother, my mother, my father, my friends, people I'd meet, watch, so I was always inspired by people and the creative nature of the human spirit. And I think so that was definitely part of my dream in life. And I remember, my girlfriend convinced me to do some stupid beauty pageant. I tell you, I was 18 years old, right before I started my business. And I said, forget that. That's bullshit. I'm not going to do that. And she says, no, do it. So it pushed me out of the comfort zone, and I got dressed up in this old 200-year-old Admiral uniform. This is probably some stuff nobody knows about me. And I got second runner-up, and I won an acting scholarship and all this. However, I remember I listened to the video a year ago, and I said, as I the narrator said, Danny wants to sail the world, travel the world, meet people, enjoy people, and get to know people and learn different cultures. So yes, it's something that I absolutely love. And so what could be better than finding the cigar to do just that?
Absolutely. Daniel, you mentioned your special cigar at the beginning as well. But before you started with cigars, actually, you were into a different part of the cigar industry.
And I still am. I started making humidors back in 1982. So this year represents our 38th year following that dream. So I was building a sailboat, and that morphed into the dream of creating and being a builder and a designer for the most luxurious, exclusive luxury gift houses in the world. So that was my challenge. It was unheard of. I liked the fact nobody was doing it. Nobody was making anything in California and selling to Hermes or to Dunhill or to Cartier. And so I wanted to do that after the whole idea of making a cigar case and taking it to Dunhill. So then it became a different dream. I always say to my daughter, look for the accidents in life. Look, that's where the beauty is. That's where the magic is. Look for kind of like the things you think are not on your normal path or normal way, but this is some of the most beautiful accidents can happen through that. So yes, building humidors, and then the dream to build the best humidor in the world, of course, and then to sell them to all the world's most discriminating cigar connoisseurs in the world was definitely a driving force, and continuing it as a continuing dream as well.
Absolutely. So are there any particular stories from that time where you mentioned like all these discriminating cigar aficionados that you were selling your humidors to? I'm sure you must have met some pretty interesting people along the journey.
Oh yeah, I tell you, the beautiful power of the cigar, and all of you here can understand what I'm talking about, where it can lead you, and friendships that you can create. There's absolutely no way that you can explain it to anybody else, or how one can become friends outside of your own circle, if you will. So I'm just a humidor guy or a cigar guy, and I love these modern day campfire events that I do. And I did one in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Steve Harvey I'm like introducing him to everybody, and it was really awesome. He came to the dinner after filming 4 episodes of Family Feud and his radio show, but he came to support the event and all. And I remember him going to me, says, wow, for somebody in cigars, you know a lot of people, because I introduced him to, this person and that person, and that's the beauty of cigars. So, but, along the journey of creating something as something that is, say, on a higher level of quality, if you will, where you infuse your love and your heart and your soul. Not only the owners, but everyone in the company does the same, whether it's a cigar, a humidor, it's exactly the same idea, or a fancy car, or, you know, the best cars in the world, or whether it's a Rolls Royce. You don't know that it's why, maybe it's so special, but you can feel it. You can feel the human passion, the human intent, the life in it. And so, you know, along my journey, there have been people that have found me that are notable, from George Burns. I remember I would crash at his nephew's house. There's a comedian in America called George Burns. He was quite popular, and he was always known to have a cigar in the mouth, and he was always known to smoke the cheapest cigars he could possibly be given. And he was a legend. And so I said, how can I ever thank you for crashing at your place while I'm calling on Saks Fifth Avenue and Tiffany and the different shops in New York? And he said, how about make my uncle a humidor? I said, done. Let's make Uncle Nat a humidor. His name was Nathaniel Birnbaum. That's George Burns' real name. So I said, sure. And then Mark shared me the letter that he got back saying, dear Mark, the humidor is way too good for the cigars I smoke. And he said some other nice things in that letter. But then there was also a great moment in my career when really an inspiration and somebody very special to me, a man called Marlon Brando, called our office. And when my secretary said Marlon Brando's on the phone, I said, no, you got to be kidding. So of course I immediately run to the phone. I said hello, and you know, it was him. And I love him a lot because he also loved what I loved, which is the islands of French Polynesia and Tahiti. And he ended up even buying an island. So my boat, the whole sailing to Tahiti when I was a kid, when I was 11 on my father's 40-foot sailboat. So that left an indelible impression, love of travel. So when Marlon Brando called, you know, I read Mutiny on the Bounty, and I was really into like living that life and, you know, disappearing from everybody. And so I said, hey, that's so cool. How can I help you? He says, I want 2 of your biggest humidors. I said, well, absolutely. We have a 250 size right now in the shop that I'm making. And then I said, Mr. Brando, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, first of all, you know, I'm a big fan and all that stuff. But I said, I didn't know you like cigars. I didn't know you any. He says, I don't know anything about cigars. I said, well, then why are you buying our humidors? And he said, hey, Daniel, I have this island in Tahiti, and it is so humid over there. Every time I go down there, I pick up my scripts and my papers, and they're all ruined. They're all mildewed and moldy and messed up. And so I'm going to put my scripts in your humidor to keep the humidity out. So that was one of I have a Jack Nicholson story. I have all kinds of stories, Hurricane Katrina stories. You know, it's the privilege and the honor of being able to stay in something you like for so long. There's a lot of history and provenance and story there.
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, I would like you to make just a little announcement, because for all the people in here, we have something super special tonight, a little raffle that we're going to do. So maybe you just want to introduce the idea for a moment, and then we'll go back to our conversation.
Sure. Well, I love the idea of making events fun and doing a raffle, but then whenever there's a raffle online, we always wonder, is the person really going to get it? Is this legitimate? Is it really going to happen? So I think this is just a perfect opportunity to do a raffle. And I have a very special humidor. It's a $500. Can people see it? There. Get it out of the fire. It's a precious burlwood humidor. It holds 20 cigars. Takes 3 months to make all our humidors. Can you see it inside? And inside, there, in this beautiful cedar-lined humidor, there is one very special cigar, and it's the 30th anniversary cigar made by Carlos Fuente. So I can't wait for somebody to win it. And here's the deal: the way you win it is having your birthday closest to this date, either behind or in front. So everybody, get your IDs out. Let's go.
Perfect. So we'll give that one away a little later, and people can already start to counterfeit all their IDs in the meantime.
Perfect.
Daniel, thank you so much for bringing that wonderful present with you. I think it's a stunning opportunity for our guests here. So you see, this is what you get when you join us here on Zoom and here at the Light 'em Up Lounge. See, there's already people putting their birthdays into the chat box. We'll get back to that. Daniel, with all these special people and all these special stories that you mentioned, I was wondering, who was your biggest inspiration? Was it the people that were into the cigar industry, cigar smokers, or was it even some other people that wouldn't even touch a cigar but were really inspirational to you?
I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world to have on my journey met so many extraordinary people, and many of them are on this program right now. So my heart goes out to all of you and my deepest gratitude. It's been quite a journey, and 38 years ago, probably, besides of course my mother, my difficult father, thank God he was so strict and tough and challenging as a growing up. I always complain about my dad to my friend who achieved a lot in his life, and he used to say, Daniel, you got it all wrong. You should be so grateful for your difficult father, because thank God he pushed you to go beyond and do something different and push the envelope and stuff. But it would be, after my parents, would be definitely my girlfriend's grandfather. And he built a life insurance company, one of the first in America, and it's called Pennsylvania Life Insurance. And I started dating her, and then we got engaged, and he just loved the story that this kid had been saving since 11 years old to buy a sailboat, buying gold coins and putting every penny aside. And he couldn't believe that at 18, I already had the boat and I had it nearly ready to go in the water. And so the fact he really encouraged that dream, and he thought that was pretty awesome. And it was really thanks to him that I'm here today with all of you. His name was Papa Joe Bain, and he was the biggest influential figure of that time. And for him to see my future, when I gave him a thank you gift for believing in me and for inspiring me, of course, what was he doing? You all know what he was doing while we talked together outside overlooking all the pool. He was so funny. He would leave the party, the Hanukkah party or whatever it was, and he would say, Danny, come tell me about the boat. What's the latest with the boat? And I would say, sure. And I'm like wondering, how are you leaving your guests? But of course, you know what he wanted to do. And so he was the one who like inspired me then. And we all have Papa Joes in our life. We all have people that believe in us and then give us like that little encouragement that say, you can do it. And I gave him a thank you gift. I found out what cigars they were, Dunhill cigars, and I made a little 3 cigar case that hinged open. It was very unique. 2 weeks later, I give it to him, and then he saw my future. So you talk about inspiration, that's totally inspirational, because I wanted to sail around the world and be a surf bum, and he's all looking at this saying, I love it, I'll use it on the golf course, but Dunhill will buy this. You can set up a factory. You can sail around the world. You can do it all. So I never heard that stuff before. So I'm saying, Papa Joe, one of the, like this super successful guy who went public in the 60s and did this, had a beautiful Bel Air mansion next to Ronald Reagan. I was like this poor Malibu surfer, and I shouldn't degrade it too much because Malibu's not a bad place to grow up. But I was like definitely out of my element in this guy's home next to President Reagan. And I was not about to say, hey, bad idea, forget it. So I followed his idea of what I could do with this cigar case. And so he was definitely inspirational. There are so many people along the way. Every customer, every friend, every partner, Carlos Fuente, man, what an inspiration.
I love the
Reinhold Whitmire, what an inspiration, a visionary. Marvin Schenken, amazing people that have changed and shifted our lives, my life, in dramatic ways. I mean, we don't have enough time, but the story is, I mean, you know, how if you love something enough and you're into it enough, no matter what, the next door will be open. You don't even have to worry about your future. You just keep doing what you're doing and doing the best. So Marvin, amazing inspiration in 1992 when he called me up and said, I want you to be a part of my magazine. When Reinhold came up with this idea to do a cigar magazine, I mean, how cool is that? Answering my prayers to have a cigar magazine based primarily in Europe, because I want to, of course, do the crazy shit. I want to sell Nicaraguan cigars made by another amazing family, the Nestor Plasencian Manuel Quesada team makes my red label Nicaraguan. So I'm surrounded by inspirational people, but in Europe, they had no interest in non-Cuban cigars. New World, that's okay. We'll buy your humidors, Danny, but you can keep the cigar. But you know, the power of the pen, there's nothing like it. We would be nothing without the magazines. We would be nothing without the press. And a well-known actor friend of mine always tells me, you can have the best product in the world, the best product. It can be sitting there right in front of the table in the world. But if no one's writing about it, nobody's talking about it, it's going nowhere. So, you know, talk about inspirational people that definitely, there's many of them. And I could speak for hours about how many there are.
Daniel, I love the fact that before you mentioned it's actually some of the most challenging times that really help us taking the next step and really take us to that level that we reach at a certain point in life. And I think we've all been through such challenging times. What were some obstacles and some hurdles you had to overcome in order to get to that point in life where you are right now, personally and professionally?
Well, good question, and I know all of us share this in our life and in our this beautiful experience that we all get to enjoy. Immediately, there's challenges. Immediately, I mean, I follow the story. I go to New York. I meet the buyer. I break down the door to meet the buyer in New York. They had no interest to buy my product. So hurdle number one, Dunhill wanted nothing to do with a new supplier making cigar, anything. All their money was tied up and they had no interest to see a guy from California. But in the back of my head, my inspirational, like Papa Joe was saying, wait, how could that be? He said Dunhill will buy it. So I just walked down to the office, busted down the door and got in to see the buyer. And of course, I thought I was slam dunk, easy done. But of course, I made a cigar case for every Dunhill cigar there was. I thought I'd impress them. And he said, this is okay, but can you make a cigar humidor? And I said, sure. What's a cigar humidor? I remember the moment so exactly. And he like looked at me. I think he could feel that no matter what, this was going to be funny for him to see get this kid out of my office as fast as possible. So he gave me a broken LA Bleu French-made humidor, had a bottle of whiskey in it. I didn't even know what whiskey was back then either. I mean, I found this humidor literally 5 years ago. It had the full bottle of Dunhill whiskey, sealed, empty. Of course, I'm such an idiot, I didn't even protect it. But the story there, the challenge started. He gave me the humidor, then I copied it. That wasn't the big challenge. That I could do. And I came back 2 weeks later, and then he took out his spreadsheet, and he had all the shops written down on the spreadsheet. And he kept writing and was silent for a long time. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm writing you an order. I says, okay. And I look at the order, and it's $250,000 in 1982. It was all the humidors Dunhill needed for the next 8 months. I'm like, you got to be kidding. I, of course, go back to Papa Joe. I said, look, you know, I wanted to go sailing around the world. What happened here? What do we do? How do we make these humidors in my garage next to my boat? He said, no, that's so funny. He said, I told you so. And so that's it. He said, we'll set up a factory. So he ended up being my investor and my partner. And but again, the crazy story about that all sounds like amazing. No. 3 months later, I'm in the first Quicksilver's factory. Of course, I wanted to be a Quicksilver. When I saw those board shorts lined up, I said, this is where I want to be. It's their first place. It's good luck and all this. And, you know, 3 months, we spent about $100,000. We bought the best equipment. I hired 20 people from shipyards in the area, carpentry. This guy called Lloyd Ellis was really master craftsman, and he would always kind of tame me down. I was, let's hurry. He's always taking fucking a week to make a piece of tooling. And I say, let's just do it. So there was that. But 3 months later, we have the spray booth approved. We're shooting, we're making the order. And the same buyer from Daniel, Carl Barbado, called me. And this was my first big challenge. He said, I have to cancel the order. I have bad news. I said, what are you talking about? We just spent all this money. And like my heart stopped. And he said, the parent office in London is so angry with me, and I'm going to lose my job if I don't cancel that order because you weren't approved by, a supplier of the Queen. They're like, how can I approve a supplier without their permission was their point. You got to go to London. And of course, arrogant me said, okay, no problem. And I took my samples up to London, and you all know what they told me. You all know that they hated every humidor. And they said, no, this is not Dunhill. Sell it to anyone else, but this is not for us. Sorry you had to come so far. So challenge number one, what do we do when we put our heart and soul something? We like cry and we say, okay, how did I mess this one up? What did I do wrong? And then when I asked them that question, then I knew something was up because they couldn't answer it right away. There was literally 10 guys in the room, total English committee intimidating me. And then they start complaining about, I can't really show it, but like the screws aren't lined up. There's a little polishing compound in the keyway. The lid's a little bit off. Like I said, okay, can I come see you tomorrow? Fix everything and come back with one. And they laughed. Sure, you're going to go to California, come back and see us tomorrow at 9? You got it. They thought I was gone. But no, I'm like an Alabama tick. I was not going to let that one go. Papa Joe said this could be done, and I'm going to do it. So it's, I went back, and I took one humidor. I didn't take 10. And I got him. And then he put a fear that Aubrey Stiles, this old crotchety guy that worked at Dunhill Pipes, he said, every humidor better come up to this standard or we're going to send them all back. We're not going to pay you. So I had the fear of God in me that I cannot mess this one up. And so I really elevated a standard of quality when it comes to humidors, looking at the way the screws are and all these little details that very few people see. But that was the first challenge. To really get that Dunhill order approved. And then the next big hurdle, then it went on for 10, 12 years, making humidors for everybody from Stallone or Nicholson or Schwarzenegger and, Tony Scott, the director, Tony Scott, but so many of our humidors. So it was like Ross Perot, President Reagan, President Bush. I love making humidors for the State Department because they love to give humidors as the State Department gift for visiting presidents. So they called me, and in 2 weeks I had to get the visiting dignitaries flag with the American flag and figure out something nice. And so President Bush, people don't know it, President Bush Jr. and Sr. enjoyed cigars, and Jr. especially. I worked with him, and so that was a lot of fun. Either it was pen boxes or humidors. But right after that period, my bread and butter customer, Alfred Dunhill of London, they had 80% of my production. And another business lesson, never put all your eggs in one company because it can go away in a puff of smoke. And that's exactly what happened. Challenge number 2, big one. Dunhill closed all their shops in 1 year, gone. Business evaporated. So I had to move the factory. I had to scale back my team. And that's, hard, really, really hard to do when you have built your family and built a certain, moving is not fun, as you all know. And so that's it. And then we as I said earlier, you just keep at it. Never give up, like Winston Churchill said, and another door will open. And that's when Marvin Schenken of Cigar Aficionado called me and he said, I hear you make some of the best humidors in the world. I'm doing a magazine. And I said, good luck to you. Because I couldn't believe that a magazine would. I thought I knew every cigar lover on the planet by that point. And he said, it's going to change your life. I said, that's really cool. I'm excited. How much are the ads? He said, 8,000. I said, I don't have 8,000. He said, mortgage your house. I said, Marvin, I live in an apartment. I don't have a house. And then he said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Love Marvin. Come to the Big Smoke. See what I'm doing, see what it's all about. Bring your humidors, you'll see. I went to the Big Smoke, $18,000 worth of humidors were sold one night. I was like, okay, add every issue. So, but my point is, my business was over. And then another door opened, and the magazine started, and then Cigar Journal started. And so all I'm just saying is, you know, challenge after challenge. We've had workers' compensation challenge. We have product challenges on a daily basis. Oh my God, people don't understand, like making a humidor, what's involved. We buy our wood from a German supplier, all from sustained forests and whatnot. And sometimes the wood is treated with a chemical we don't even know is there until we painted it. So all of a sudden, the paint is not sticking or it's bubbling, and like it's a constant ongoing fun. But at the end of the day, it's really, really, really something I'm very fortunate to be a part of. And the people I get to meet, all of you here, you know, incredible. I do it for free, you know.
Daniel, with all the hurdles you had to overcome, did you feel like it was more important for you to have a clear vision, to follow your path and just continue what you were doing and follow your own thought and way and your own process? Or did you much rather listen and try to soak up all the information that was out there, take the feedback from other people and learn that way?
You know what? Both, because I've made things, I've created things, I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in products that I thought were the best products in the world. And it's not necessarily a good idea to fall in love with your product, even though I can't help myself. I have to be in love with it. I have to be excited about it to really kick it down the trail. But yeah, and then listening to people, absolutely. Listening to every customer. Every customer is my boss. Somebody asked me, you know, what's it like not having a boss for so many years? I said, what are you talking about? I have so many bosses, it's not even funny. Every customer is my boss, you know? So, and every complaint and every criticism we take very seriously, and we want everybody happy, no matter whether it's from the cigar collection or the humidor collection. And, you know, I think that, yeah, we have to learn from everywhere. And then we have to mold and listen to our retailer customers, we listen to the public, and you know, it's great to do live events like this, so we get to hear comments and criticisms. It's all good. There's no rejection. There's no rejection. There's only direction. And this guy, he was on a big Hollywood or Broadway show, and I remember talking to him at a party, and I said, how do you do this? Like, how did you get on this top like major show? And he says, you know what, Daniel, I learned early on, there's no rejection. It's just direction. They say no to me, I just go over there. I do another thing.
What a wonderful quote. Highly inspirational. Thanks for sharing that. And I think you're totally right. It's about finding the right balance between your own path and sticking to what you think your journey needs to be. And then like Pete Johnson, and I'm super glad that he's joining us tonight again. Hi, Pete. He said when we had a call that first and foremost,
Peter, love you, man.
He's blending cigars to his own palate and to his own liking, because ultimately you need to love the product first, but then of course it's also about keeping your customers in mind, or your guests, you know, and creating that wonderful connection between you and those people that will ultimately appreciate and enjoy everything that you're doing. We have a lot of questions coming in. And pardon, please go ahead.
Yeah, I learned a really big lesson from a guy called Jack Nicholson, because he was really not happy with his big 500 size humidor that he had. His assistant called me one day and said, you know, Daniel, I got a problem. Jack is really unhappy with you and your humidor. I mean, those are the worst things you can possibly imagine hearing. Like, it's a nightmare, no, right? Like, wake me up, please. And she said, no. He's like, there's green things growing on the cigars. And I'm like, oh God, how can there be green things? They're like little vial humidification systems that hardly provide enough water to keep it just barely above, you know, lightable. And so I said, I'll be right over. So I shot up to his house there on the hill, and very anxiously walked over to the biggest humidor we made, which is 500 cigars, had all these trays. I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm going to be buying probably $10,000 worth of, no doubt, Cuban cigars. And I go to the humidor, I pick out the cigar, and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, okay, there are green things on it, but wait a minute, it brushes off really, really easily. And I told the assistant, I said, this is weed. This is not mold. And she says, oh shit, that's right. Zach kept his marijuana in there sometimes. And I'm like, oh, thank God. 20 years ago, I'd never tell that story, but I can tell it now because weed's so popular, it's an essential.
I'm curious as to how that cigar might have tasted back in the days. Sort of an infused, right?
Yeah, totally covered. They probably put honey on it and then roll it.
Daniel, we have plenty of questions coming in. Sayafi, you had a question. Please go ahead first.
Hi, Daniel, you all right? So, like, my question is, has the market changed for young people smoking cigars now? Because you have like the likes of Nick Jonas promoting, and obviously was again just promoting your cigars. Basically, it's like, have you felt that the market's changed because of that particular exposure?
Great question. And I think you see this probably more than anyone else, considering where you get to enjoy your time at work and stuff. And so I'm sure you see a wide range of ages, men, women of all ages and creeds and colors and all that. So I absolutely think there is a interest with the younger generation, and it's super exciting to see at my events. It's super exciting that a guy like Nick Jonas would enjoy cigars and eat for nothing, take a gold cigar and go out there with Demi Lovato and post about celebrating, you know, her album Summer with a cigar, which is, you know, he's brave enough to take the heat. And I'm really impressed. Him, and there's some other really young actors that have collected our humidors and our cigars, and you know, literally early 20s and super, super hot. One guy I can't mention because his agent told me not to say anything, but at one point I'll get a picture of him with the humidor and the cigar and then get it out there. But you'd all be amazed. So yes, and the magazine is much to blame for that, which is a good thing. And all of the people talking about cigars, all the great websites, all the great bloggers, you in that beautiful location where you work telling the story of cigars. It's really much, it's an experience. It's not tobacco. And, you know, the messaging that I am constantly talking about, smoking is not something we do. We taste, and we taste cigars. We don't smoke, we taste. And I think that is the biggest thing we need to get into people's heads, especially the younger generation, because they think, oh, smoking cigar, that's like for the grandfather and stuff. But I think if they get it like it's tasting, and look, it doesn't get you super high. You can have a great conversation and unlock special creative parts of the brain. And it also lowers stress, which is our biggest killer. So why wouldn't the young people learn to love to taste cigars, especially when there's no proven real statistics out there that it takes a day away from your life? I'm always believing it adds to you. Great question.
Daniel, speaking of your palate and tasting cigars, so as opposed to just smoking them, how did you actually develop your palate, and how did you grow your experience when it comes to aroma and flavor? And I always call it my sensory database that I have in my mind. So everything that I smell, everything that gets in my way, gets stored in that database. How do you build on that?
Well, I think exactly like all of you, the beauty in life is to be able to have variety and to be able to try different things and to be able to appreciate a product, something we can enjoy, which is much more than a cigar. It represents, like, every one of the great cigar makers out there tell the same story. It's all about an infusion of heart into a cigar. It's like children. And being able to try different cigars, I think, is the absolute best way to do that, to decide what you like, to hear other people's opinion. There's nothing more fun than having those great conversations. And Carlos Fuente told me back in the day when his parents, when he was a little kid, him and his sister were there on their Tampa balcony. He's told this great story about, guess what his dad and all the people hanging out on the balcony did? What, they didn't have iPhones, TVs weren't a big deal. They were arguing about how to make a better cigar, how to outdo the taste of the other guy's cigar. And I think that's really great. And I think if we can get into that kind of feeling and being exploratory, trying different brands and learning about the story of the brand and why it's different, how old it is, what's the aging process, how it's made. I mean, Fuente makes the Opus X cigars and all his cigars in a way where I've never even knew that cigars could be made with five or six tubes, you know? So it's like cigars within a cigar. It's like, you know, and then the way you grow a cigar, the way you don't use a steak maybe has a huge impact on taste. I can tell you it does. What he, you know, he spends, I didn't even know this, but he takes the tobacco leaf and he ties it up. He doesn't use a stick. He ties it not just once, but 3 times during its growth. So learning that, I think, is what develops the great sense and the great taste. And then having icons that you can enjoy and meet, and great people who have been in the business who can give you advice about their take on cigars and what they recommend, a gift of a great cigar. That's how we get to learn. I mean, I walk into you know, a cigar shop, and I love nothing more than buying a friend's brand cigar or going to different events and trying different people's cigars. So it's all about trying it, experiencing it, learning about it. You know, there's some great shops out there. They know a little something about every cigar they sell. And those are my favorite shops. Corona Cigar is one that comes to mind immediately. There's so many fantastic shops all around the world which fall into that category where the team loves cigars so much. They can give you little, like the high points of every cigar there. And I think that adds to our enjoyment and our experience and what really that cigar means to us and where it takes us.
Now, when you talk about the individual cigars and getting to learn more about cigars, that is obviously one side of the business, the actual product, the tobacco, how it is fermented, how the cigars are rolled and then aged afterwards. But another side is the marketing, obviously, the storytelling. And you are probably one of the best storytellers and marketers in that sense that, like, you brought things to the market that were unseen before, like a cigar wrapped in gold. Like, where do you see that fine line of this is what the product needs to deliver, and it's all about the quality of the thing itself, as opposed to this is the storytelling, this is the marketing aspect, and how do you find the perfect balance of bringing these two elements together?
Well, it's definitely a marriage, and it's both equally important as long as the marketing is based on fact and based on truth and based on heritage and tradition and all the important things that make something of great quality, no matter what it is. And I think that in the certain cases, like I told you, accidents are beautiful. And the gold cigar was a huge accident because, to be honest with you, I never wanted my name associated with something as kind of Mickey Mouse, if you will. I mean the Mighty Mouse, not Mickey Mouse. Like gold cigar that's like so over the top. But then that's exactly why I came up with the idea to make a gold cigar, but not to sell, to be decoration, like on a Christmas tree, for very special Universal Studio humidors that I made. I made 1,000 to package the Blu-ray Scarface. So they came to me. I was really proud of that they chose me out of all the humidor makers to make the Daniel Marshall Universal Studios Scarface humidor. And then when I went to a big press event that they did, they said, bring cigars, bring your cigars, bring the rollers. We're going to have a big press event, and Al Pacino's coming. All the guys, you'll meet everybody from the cast and a lot of stars. Friend Joe Manganiello came there. I met him that night. I met my friend Kelly Wu came. So it was really a star-studded event, and we had 2 cigar rollers. And the CEO of Universal was introduced to me. I said, first of all, you've got a lot of courage to put a cigar-related product around one of your jewels in your crown. And he said, no, Daniel, it was perfect. I said, you didn't get any complaints? No one like sued you? And they said, no, it's perfect. It was a huge press pickup all over the world. We got known as the most expensive packaging for Blu-ray in history. I said, well, I was happy to contribute to that. And so then he said, but can you do me a favor? Can you come up with like some ultra bling version of this so I can give it to Al and I can give it to Bregman, I can give it to Steven, you know, and all that. So I said, hey, yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I, you know, sent to Germany, I sent the humidor, and the world is yours all of a sudden became Swarovski crystal, and the medallion, the Tony Montana medallion I had blinged out too, really You have to jazz it up. And then I was talking to the smartest creatures on earth. I was talking to a woman, and we were having a drink, and I was telling her about my dilemma, like what cigar you put in a humidor, Scarface humidor, go into Al Pacino, what do you do? Like put 100-euro notes around it, or like how do you make it crazy, stupid decoration, but safe and of good quality where you could eat it, you could potentially light it up. And she said to me, gold, man, gold. I was thinking roll it in Coke or sugar or something. And, so she said gold. I said, that's a really bad idea. I just made a humidor for President Bush. Edgar Coleman of General Cigar ordered me a humidor for President Bush's inauguration. I just spent $200 of gold on the presidential seal. It's like flying all over the place, all over my fingers. I hate that. Gold is that's really tough to work with. She said, I gave you a good idea. You're going to make a lot of money with that. I'm like, yeah, let's drink to that. Sure. So you never know where these ideas are going to come from. I found a way to do it. It took a while to create a natural, healthy, like one that you could literally eat. You can eat gold. I said zero toxicity. Okay, that sounds good. I'm comfortable putting that in the humidor. And that's when the merging of the press and the product came together, because a writer for the Robb Report magazine, remember The Power of the Pen, saw that cigar in the humidor. He didn't want to write about the Scarface humidor. He wanted to write about the gold cigar. Robb Report is a luxury kind of like all over the world. It highlights some of the best. And I said, Rick, please, I've known him for a long time. He's an amazing author, wrote a lot of books on whiskey and spirits and cigars. He's like really considered one of the world's foremost experts on pipes and cigars and whatnot. So for him to want to write about the gold cigar, I thought he literally had been drinking too much. And so I said, write about that sterling silver humidor over there. He said, no. Tell me more about that. Can you smoke it? I said, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's decoration. Give it to me. So he gave it to me. I gave it to him. And 2 weeks later, he said, your full-page article is coming out in Robb Report, and it's called Rolled Gold. I said, no. Can you smoke that cigar? Like, does it light burn? He said, yes, and it leaves a golden ash. So, and then it was big press pickup and all the way. And then all of a sudden, like by accident, this product had come to life. And, roll forward a year later at the Edward Shahakian Davidoff, cigar lounge there in London, the story I told earlier, I get a call from Mike Choi, and he said, Daniel, you're going to love this news. President Clinton just checked into the hotel. And we sent up some cigars, Cuban cigars, different cigars, Davidoff cigars. And he sent up a gold cigar, and he bought the gold cigar. So I was like, wow, President Clinton bought the gold cigar. So just there, a long answer to your question, but it's super important. And sometimes you don't strategize it. It just kind of has to come together. And so.
Wonderful story. Ian had a question. Please bring that one up, Ian.
Yes, Daniel. Just wondered whether you use different types of cedar for your humidor. I've heard some people use Spanish cedar, but when I was in Nicaragua at Mombacho, they use a different type of cedar in their aging room, and I just wondered whether you have different types of cedar for different humidors.
Well, I'm very outspoken when it comes to Spanish cedar and using the proper Spanish cedar, because there are certain cigar shops during the boom where they didn't really know the difference, or they weren't educated on it, or they thought cedar was cedar. But the one you put in the closet, the redwood cedar, I literally faint when I go into cigar shops that use that kind of cedar. So maybe they're using it to take on that special scent that redwood cedar gives. But to me, as a kind of purist old guy, I love what Spanish cedar does to cigars, and I think many of the classic cigar makers all through hundreds of years now have used Spanish cedar. It just seems to marry and help the cigar age in the fastest possible way, is my opinion on it. Yet, we talked about listening to our customers. There was a gentleman in Beverly Hills. He was a very big connoisseur on cigars, Cuban fanatic, all Monte A's in his humidor. I go over to his house. His daughter was married to Paul Marciano of the Guess Empire. And so he had a shoe brand called Charles David. His name was Charlie Malka. And he said, Daniel, I want to show you the best humidor in the world. I said, oh yeah, great. I can't wait to see it. And it was a humidor lined in glass. So there was no effect of wood at all. So I said, why is that? He said, because it maintains the integrity of the tobacco. So, you know, he has a point there too, because if you have a beautiful cigar that is aged, like the genius cigar makers out there today that are just pouring their heart and soul into making cigars, if you have a cigar that is ready, aged, and, you know, perfectly done, all the check marks have been done, yeah, you could put it in a glass-lined humidor and preserve the absolute integrity of that cigar without any influence of Spanish cedar. We ended up doing a collection called Legacy. I remember talking to Michael Herklitz at Nat Sherman. You know, they wanted to come out with an anniversary humidor, and says, what could be more anniversary of Nat Sherman coming up? Like, remember those milk glass humidors that Nat Sherman used to sell and have? And he said, yeah. So we ended up doing a collection of milk glass humidor lined with milk glass. So there's no Spanish cedar. Very difficult humidor to make. I don't want to ever make them again.
But wouldn't you want to have an influence of cedar rather than just glass, which would be completely inert, and also it wouldn't breathe? So wouldn't there be another benefit to have a natural product like cedar?
My personal take on it is yes. I'm an expert at desktop humidors, so for a desktop humidor where you're putting in a certain small number of cigars, I'd say yes. However, go visit some of those factories. Can't even begin to explain, but the Willy Wonka of the cigar world. Yet you walk in the Opus X aging room, for example, and it's too much air circulation can be a problem, or too much cedar ratio can be like not considered the perfect. The amount of time it stays in the cedar boxes, the amount of holes in the cedar box. So there's a real science to it. And if you go to London and you ever get to go to 5 Hertford, it's a very nice private members club, but there's a wonderful gentleman there that took me on a tour of the aging room for all these fantastic cigars, which would make us all like drool. And he builds hospitals like around the world, and especially in Baghdad and stuff. And so he uses hospital quality air. It's filtered and it's perfect temperature, but they use cedar. You walk in that room and you see raw Spanish cedar. So,
thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your question, Ian. We had another one from Erwin. Please bring that up, Erwin.
Yeah, hello. Can you listen to me?
Hey, how are you doing?
Sorry, I have a picture. I'm cooking right now. Well, how do you develop the ligas, different ligas? For example, I'm a guy who likes Scotch, rum, strong flavors, full body cigars. You have like someone or a sibling or a friend that you say, hey, I'm gonna have this liga done today. I want you to try a full body cigar, but I will also like this to be enjoyable for a guy who likes, let's say, like half body or mild cigar. How do you get to that point?
You mean pairing it with different spirits or different?
No,
liquid?
I'm talking about the palate. How do you develop the liga to?
How
Let's
do you
say,
develop the palate to know what kind of cigar you really enjoy? Is that the question?
No, your cigars. How do you develop the ligas, the different mix of the leaf of the tobacco leaf?
Oh, I see. Yes. Well, when it comes to the cigars that I made in 1996, I left the blending up to Manuel Quesada, and I was so fortunate, again, showing you the power of the cigars. In 1996, you could not get cigars. The makers couldn't make enough cigars. It was a crazy time, and he made a lot of people angry that he was making cigars for me. Lou Rossman of JR Cigars, he told me, called him and said, Daniel, I'm getting so much heat making you a cigar because I don't even make them enough cigars, and they're the biggest retailer at that time. And so I left it up to him and up to his expertise. Of course, I tried it. I told him my concept for the cigar. I wanted to taste like a cappuccino, and he came up with a very creamy, beautiful cigar. But I wasn't about to like ask for too many tweaks on that cigar because I was so fortunate to get cigars as it was. And you know, our 38th anniversary cigar, I don't need to tell Carlos Fuente, you know, like, you know, he knows what's the best cigar in the world, and he knows exactly what to do and how to achieve it. Yet the Red Label cigar, I had more input and more, you know, involvement with the profile. And I remember, of course, I was riding motorcycles every Saturday up to Starbucks by Trancas, and I would have this espresso, very strong espresso and cappuccino mixed with mocha. And I said, that's the cigar I want. I want it chocolatey, rich and creamy and all that. And I went to Manuel and Nestor Placentia. I said, guys, this is what I want to achieve. I want to evoke my motorcycle ride to Starbucks. And those guys, they sent me 5 different, you know, numbered blends to try. And I was up at my friend's home and up in Idaho. And we're all big cigar guys. We're all really discriminating cigar lovers. I consider them some of the best discriminating cigar tasters in the world, if you will. And we all chose number 4. There was like no question that the number 4 blend was the best. So that's an answer to your question. I think that, you know, you get your friends who really know what they're talking about to try it, and then it's a home run if everybody has a consensus, I think.
Thanks.
We had another question from Anthony. Anthony, one of our most loyal regulars here at the lounge. Always a pleasure to have you.
Anthony, also nice to meet you.
Hello, Daniel. You know, you just confirmed that there's a lot of top official government guys that buy cigars, love cigars. And then again, regulation is very tough on us. How come those guys are not advocates for us, trying to help soften, you know, the rules?
So the question is how to get the politicians to advocate for our cigars?
Why they're not trying to help, even though most of them, they are cigar smokers?
Good question. And I think it's, you know, I never forget visiting Senator D'Amato's office in the Senate and visiting him and checking out his humidor that he ordered for me and stuff. And he was an example of a politician that loved cigars and wasn't afraid of it. Another guy called Congressman David Dreyer. He was the youngest congressman from California and the longest lasting congressman, over 20 years. And he loved cigars. So he had a special place to enjoy cigars there. And he was very like proactive, spreading the word and sharing the cigar with fellow politicians. And I'm sure all of you have heard of the famous smoking tent that was erected in California in the Capitol within the legal limits, 20 feet away from any open access or door. So, of course, that kind of move is very helpful, I think, to tell the story about cigars. But not only that, because there was a lot of opposition initially for that tent in the California Capitol. However, at the end of Governor Schwarzenegger's term, every political party that he dealt with and did negotiations with missed that tent, because that tent was the campfire. That tent was when people could, you know, take off their tie. I made him this huge lighter, which was like this big, had a flame, like definitely like a Terminator style flame. You could light people's cigar and make a big, like, but my point is, there's an example right there of how in politics, it can really help to break ice and bring people to the table.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Daniel, curious about your connection with Mr. Schwarzenegger, who certainly is an inspiration to many of us here on the call. How do you feel that connection sort of changed your path in the cigar industry?
It's interesting. I met Governor Schwarzenegger in 1996 at a cigar night that he did. And I really believe he probably did one of the first cigar nights in the world, and he did it at his restaurant. And so I was lucky enough to be invited to this cigar night. And a friend of mine, Ed Kolpin, had me come with him, and Ed had started the Tinderbox franchise. And he literally, through his vision, had this idea to franchise his concept for a cigar shop. So it was really quite extraordinary. He's had it in the late 40s. He had the cigar pipe shop. He was a pipe maker. That guy hit everybody. He made pipes for Bing Crosby. Marilyn Monroe would go in there. He'd hang out. Errol Flynn was one of his best friends. So it just shows you how you can have friends from all walks of life and doing all kinds of great things through the cigar. So anyway, Ed told me to come to this cigar night. You'll meet Arnold. He bought a lot of your humidors. You got to meet him, and you'll have a good time. And so it was inside the room, and it was really smoky. And so Governor came over, and he was filming a racer at the time, and Ed said, "This is Danny. He makes all your humidors." And Arnold could not believe that I made the humidors, and he asked me, "Can I have your card and stuff?" And so, a couple weeks later, I went up to the set and talked to him about wrap gifts. He was so generous. Every movie, he'd give all kinds of beautiful presents out to the cast, to the producers, and the people who really did a great job on the movie and all. And I was really into creating the perfect gift, since I started my whole career making a gift, but a real impactful gift that has heart and soul and really is a message. People go, "Wow, I love that." So we created some special gifts. That was the start of a friendship that's lasted over 26 years now. And but of course, having the experience to be able to witness what he did with politics and the major advancements on so many levels, from infrastructure and being a real people's governor, not like to see this kind of firsthand and be able to witness somebody that wasn't in there for the politics, wanted to be a voice of the people and do the infrastructure in California, do the regulatory changes that need to happen in order to continue on this environmental crusade and to really protect our earth for ourselves and for our future. I mean, he had to see enemies being created out of his own party, and to witness that is an extraordinary gift. The friendship is, of course, most blessed, and I'm so fortunate and lucky. And of course, so important, he introduced the world the idea of charity and doing things to give back and to make and create things. You can raise money for different programs, different charities. So for me, in my future, and what I love to do most is to raise money for great environmental causes. I'm asked by the Princess Grace Foundation to donate and create beautiful humidors. They've even asked me, right? I was actually going to be in Monaco 2 weeks ago with Prince Albert and the Princess Grace Foundation. They asked me to be there while Sting performed and with the cigars and everything, to really provide the cigar experience to a great fundraiser that would raise money for Prince Albert's mother's foundation that she started. So I love doing those things that can really help the world and people in need and stuff. So that's so rewarding. But Governor Schwarzenegger is definitely the one that taught me that. It didn't come from my own father or my own upbringing, but it was through his example of wanting and desire to give back. So that was very, very impactful. And, I just love working with great organizations to do just that, to raise money for great causes. And, I can't wait to, again, I have to mention what I saw in Dominican Republic at Chateau de la Fuente, where Carlos Fuente, you all must check this out. Check out the video, go down there if you can. But the fact they took 300 acres of barren land and created into a city, basically, and building schools and hospitals and teaching the kids in computer class. I'm telling you, that's where the action's at. And now, whenever I enjoy a Fuente cigar, I know that the proceeds of that money is actually saving kids and giving people hope and a dream and a potential for a better life. And so it's really remarkable. So anyway.
It's fantastic that you bring up that point, Daniel. And I'm super grateful for for your thoughts on that. Like it's basically what we're trying here as well. Well, first of all, we want to build a platform and a community for people to connect even in challenging times, and we want to give something back to the global cigar family. And we're also trying our very best to support charitable causes. We set up our own little fundraiser for families severely struggling now with the whole COVID-19 crisis.
Fabulous.
I'll just put the link of our little PayPal money pool into the chat box. So for all of you who would like to make a small donation, if it's a dollar or two, we truly appreciate all your support, and wonderful to hear that you're fully behind those sort of charitable causes as well. And certainly something that Governor Schwarzenegger does a
I'm immediately thinking of how we can raise some more money. So let's brainstorm how to make a very unique, one-of-a-kind humidor that my humidors have known to go for now tens of thousands, in some cases over $100,000 a humidor. So we could come up with a very unique humidor and maybe get some of the cigar legends to sign it and put in some special cigars in there. We did something similar. So that's just one idea. But I think it would be really cool. And we could raise some serious money for people who really, really need our help.
That's wonderful. And I'm sure we're gonna continue our conversations on that and try to do our very best to give something back, especially in challenging times. Daniel, we have so many people joining us over on Facebook as well, and there's questions pouring in. We had one from Buck. He says he grew up in Kentucky, and he even worked in tobacco farms in his younger days. Speaking of weather and soil and all the curing processes, how hard is it, he asks, year to year, keeping a consistent product and making sure that you keep the consistency and the quality of your cigars, and even for your humidors?
This is vital. I think this is vital for any brand, whether you're making wine, you're creating whiskey, you're creating rum, you're making Rolls Royces. You better keep that consistency. It better be there. Otherwise, very quickly, people will leave you behind and the word would get out. So the consistency is super important. That's why I love to collaborate and have partners with some of the best and known brands that share the same essence of what I consider makes a great product. And I think that all of you here can identify when it comes to quality and the luxury and having the best of the best, there's two elements I've always said that come into play. And one is a richness of character and a generosity of spirit. And if those two things are infused into whatever it is, whether it's cigar, humidor, Rolls Royce, for example, that creates magic and that creates beauty. And that creates something that's more than a cigar, more than a car, for example. And I just think that the consistency of the cigar is super important. But like I say, I want to partner with people that have that same philosophy. Now, saying that, if you get in specifics, you think about, Nestor Plasencia, for example, the largest grower, I think, maybe wrong, of tobacco in Nicaragua. You want to partner with Nestor Plasencia to make a cigar. Why? Because you are more likely to get that consistency from someone that has the ability to have vast amounts of tobacco in warehouses, aging, becoming beautiful, much more. Because again, the philosophy and the DNA is richness of character, generosity of spirit. So every move you make, I think that's what creates amazing Apple phone or whatever it really is. And so that's how I believe cigars can maintain their consistency by working and partnering with people that have those kind of resources of tobacco that they can use over and over again.
Another wonderful question from Right, joining us from Dubai yet again. Right, glad you're on the call. Please raise your question.
Thank you, Daniel. An absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving us some of your time. It's great that we get the chance to have this. I always ask several questions. Bear with me. My first question is, if you look around, there's a lot of high-tech humidors that are coming out. Those that control humidity and temperature at the same time, and you look at them, and for the price of one box, you would get a super cigar fridge that would take 1,200 or what have you. And this is not me to belittle the boxes or the old school cigar boxes. They're beautiful pieces of art, amazing work it's put in them. But do you think in any way, shape, or form this will negatively impact this industry or this direction as a whole? That's my first question. The second question, you mentioned earlier about how some people took you by the hand and believed in you. There are a lot of people that are getting into this industry. Are you looking around and seeing the next Daniel Marshall or Daniel Marshall 2.0, if you may, somebody that you think that if you take him by the hand, you can make a big difference in his or her life, for that matter? And the third thing, you always seem to be working on amazing stuff and interesting projects all the time. What's the next big thing or best thing for you?
Well, great questions. As far as sophisticated electronic controlled humidors, I'm all for it. I mean, there's something for everyone out there in this wonderful world of ours. So if people want to have a really electronic, climately controlled, we make some of those, by the way, in a cigar lounge that I made in Kitzbühel, Austria. We made a very large humidor, which is something that we never had done before, and then installed the different kind of humidifications and the automatic controls, and water piping and all. And yes, they have some, I've even helped my friends get some of these electronically controlled humidors, because it's not my thing. We don't have the time to get into that world and make those. We're too busy doing what we're doing. But yeah, there's a place for it, and I don't criticize them at all. I think it's fantastic especially for somebody who wants to lay away and invest in a lot of cigars, which is a smart move to do. Once you find a cigar you love, stock up, because first of all, it's a great investment. It's always fun to see our investment double, triple, quadruple. And it's always good to have our favorite cigar on hand. But the most important thing is it gets better with time. You take good quality tobacco, and Pete Johnson can address this and talk about this, and I'd love to hear his take on that. But if you have age-worthy tobacco, there's nothing like age, nothing like what time can do to it, how it can evolve it. So thus you need a large enough space to keep your collection, perhaps even in the original boxes, intact, and keep them away for 4 or 5 years. And you can't do that so easily with the desktop humidor. You can do it with a certain number, but not with hundreds of cigars. And then the second question, do I see someone coming out in the industry? Yes, I see younger people coming out, not necessarily in humidors, but with cigar brands, and I'm super excited about that. And I love to encourage them, and I'm there to help in any way I possibly can. And if somebody wants to know where to get, who to meet or who to go or what the pathway might be, I can definitely love to help fast track people, just to help them save time where I might have wasted a lot of time, and also, help them in the way that I've been helped as well. So it's very rewarding. But I don't see too many people getting in the desktop humidor world. But I do see people in the cigar brands, and young people starting cigar brands, women and men, which is super exciting. So I'm there to totally love to help, absolutely. And what was your third question?
My third question was, you always seem to be working on interesting and fun projects. What's the next best thing, or what are you keeping yourself busy with now?
Yeah, well, I finished.
See a laugh on your face, or a smile on your face.
It's nonstop. I mean, my favorite humidor, it seems to be the one that I'm most excited about and get working on. And sometimes I have ideas, or people give me ideas many times, and they're like they float around for years and years, and then finally the moment comes to make them. So yeah, I just finished 3 really, really beautiful humidors that went up for auction. I was super proud of them. They're one-of-a-kind pieces. They raised a lot of money for a cause that's really dear to my heart. And that was super exciting in January to see those come to fruition. And right now I'm working on a project where a gentleman is retiring from the fire department, and he's a top all kinds of accolades and awards. And he wants to give have himself made a very special humidor to kind of show off a symbol of his dedication and years and his life in the fire department. So then we're taking some of my ideas from a chess humidor that we made, where you can play chess and pull out the drawer and have cigars. I made that, so I'm incorporating some of those ideas into this new piece, which will, be crazy. And then all the military branches are going to go nuts for that. So I'm super excited about that project. And then a pilot from Delta Airlines contacted us 2 weeks ago, and he's also in the process of retirement. He wants to make the ultimate retirement gift. He loves cigars, and so he came to us. And so that's really fun to incorporate the wings and the Union, the Delta Union, and the different elements of to symbolize his great career. And so those are some things it's fun. I have 2 different cigars, three different golden cigars coming out. So those are going to be super special size. We made a special golden cigar with the special 38th anniversary by Carlos Fuente. It's going to be amazing. The problem is it takes up so much gold to make that cigar. It's like the cigar is demanding twice as much gold as any other cigar. So that's what I get to do in quarantine right now. And I'm having a lot of fun every night making golden cigars in different sizes. And for the Japanese market, they were the initial ones to order the one particular. It's a small size cigar because they said so many young people want to buy the cigar, but at $300, not many of them can afford it. But they want the smaller idea of the gold cigar to celebrate, but also to do selfies with. So we're making for our distributor, Mahashi in Japan, some smaller gold cigars called Madame Marshall. I don't know if that name's going to stick. I don't think so, but we'll come up with some better name than that, because everyone's going to like these little cigars. And there's other things that I'm working on in different worlds. I am starting different collaborations with, people come to me because I make humidors. Now they want me to protect other things, such as cannabis, you can imagine. So that's there's going to be some fun stuff coming forward, and I'm super excited. After 38 years, it's amazing. I always sometimes think, and I used to tell my accountant, I said, Richard, I'm going to be out of business next year. I've made everybody that enjoys cigars a humidor. I cannot come up with another idea for a humidor. How many different boxes and shapes can you make? He said, I'm so sick and tired of you complaining that your business is over. This was like 20 years ago, right? And he says, you'll find the way. Yeah. Do you need some money, by the way? So, it's fun. There's a lot of great projects out there. And my latest is with Carlos Fuente. I'm super honored, super excited, super proud that we can work together on a cigar which really has everything I always dreamed of in a cigar. And a special humidor to package that cigar. And it's signed by both of us, designed by both of us. So that's coming out in May.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Enjoy Dubai.
Daniel, we have a perfect follow-up question to that through Facebook. It's from Jeremy. And Jeremy said that you being a craftsman, do you still find the time to create in your shop? Or do you now come up with a concept and hand it off to your employees then?
Yes. I have to say, there's 2 things that I really love to do. 3. One is do the design work, because the mind, it's not answering hundreds of emails, and all of you know what that's like to answer emails and come up with thoughtful responses. But doing the design work is super exciting to me and enjoyable, and I can unleash and unlock a certain part of my mind, kind of like a meditation. Rolling gold cigars is a major meditation for me. That's probably one of my favorite things to do, to really get myself in a gear where I think only of quality and only of perfection, and all the other noise is pushed off in the background. And I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about when you work with your hands or you do something, whether it's singing or dancing or whatever your passion is. And the third is working in the shop. And yes, I am actually working on especially the auction humidors, the one-of-a-kind humidors, because no one knows how to do it. And, we might have just one casting, for example, that's very valuable. And, you can't lose it. We can't break it. It's when Bugatti sent me the gas caps, I saw the invoice, 8,500 euros for one gas cap for a Bugatti. I'm like, whoa, do you want me to pay for this? But that's another story. So, I made that special humidor for Bugatti because I wanted to make sure that we didn't ruin or scratch that gas cap. I made one for the Molsheim factory, and then one went to a friend of mine for his birthday, and I kept one. So I love working in the shop. And again, working on tools, focusing in, concentrating is amazing. And it's a wonderful time for me. And I truly enjoy it. And cutting wood on the machine, and boy, does that take you back. That takes you right back to the roots, being covered in dust. I, of course, have a lot of N95 masks. So there's been no problem with masks for me and my people and my family and stuff, because that's all we've used all these years. And wearing N95 masks with the dust all over me, it makes me really grateful. And then being able to wear that mask with the dust and then get on my suit, get on the plane, go around the world, and meet the most extraordinary people and all new friends. I mean, that's the contrast that I truly enjoy, truly love. But all that would be impossible without a team and without loyal, faithful, trustworthy team. So anyone's running a business knows what I'm talking about. Anyone who's starting a business, look through hundreds of people before you decide on who you trust, who you give the keys to, who you let work on your humidors, who you let them assemble, because they can cost you a lot of money, cause a lot of grief, cause a lot of workers' comp claims. I've had it all happen through my experience. And so the key is getting the right people who, again, share that same spirit that I was talking about.
That's a wonderful point, Daniel. And I know from a fact that most people now, like most businesses now, also that I'm working with, and in the hospitality world, for example, the one thing they're all struggling with is exactly that: finding the right people and then keeping them, and making sure that you have a consistency also in your team and with the people you're working with. How do you go about finding those people and then creating a corporate culture that is so appealing to them that you keep all that talent?
Yes, well, money's important, as we all know, and paying a above average wage is important, I think, for retention, but also as a way to reward. And as the company does better, the people need to do better, because you'd be nothing without them. So that's the synergy. How to find them? I personally interview them, and I work with them, and I ask them to do certain operations. For example, we make our humidors in California, so I can see immediately if they have the ability and the patience to do work on a humidor, because it takes hours and hours to adjust the hinge and put the humidors together, the gluing, you have to be fanatical. They have to be fanatical in their own way about that. So you have to identify that in people that work with you, doing this kind of handcrafted work in particular, but with numbers too. Numbers. I mean, I just recently found a German assistant that loves numbers, and she loves accounting. More like, that's something that I struggle through. I don't like to do it, but it's a necessary evil, and it's super important. I worked with a woman. She was such an old school bookkeeper, you wouldn't even believe. She was so tough on me. I wanted to cut corners. This was like 30, 25 years ago with the factory and stuff, and paying overtime direct and not going through the system. And she helped a guy, the founder of Burger King, if you believe it. And she told me the philosophy that guy had, and that she was his main accountant. She did everything by hand. And so I was so blessed to have her and get me on the path to never cut any corners with the accounting as well, which is also super important. So not only building the humidor, the actual work, but everyone in the team, whether it's crunching the numbers or putting the paperwork together, whatever the process is, has to be interfacing with customers. Talk about a skill. Talk about somebody you really have to really suss them out. But then again, how to keep them? You keep them by thanking them, telling them, I'm not your boss. Don't even think of me as your boss. You're the customers, the boss. People that we send these cigars and humidors out to, they're our bosses. We work for them. We keep them happy. We're happy. So, there's a variety of different ways that I've learned. I have people with me over 20 years. I've had many of my team members retiring from our work. And you know, you have to be careful of the ones that come in and like sell your customer list. One assistant did that, or all of a sudden think humidors is a great idea. Let me open up down the shop and make humidors. That happened once too. So, you know, you just gotta check them out and work with them eye to eye and meet them, see them, and you know pretty much right away. I got pretty good at it.
I certainly realized along my journey as well that you much rather look for the right people and the right heart and their mindset and the spirit, as you called it perfectly well, rather than recruiting for talent. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And I wouldn't go to like a carpenters union to find a carpenter. I don't need to do that. I can go to different communities. I work with all kinds of different communities. We have many different nations represented in our factory, but we do have a lot of Vietnamese, and I found them to really, really have a different philosophy. I remember one Vietnamese employee told me, don't give me like, I don't need more money. I'm fine. I said, you have to take more money. And so, yeah, you just, you don't need to get them from any particular place. You just have to ask people and ask around. I've had some of my greatest, actually the assistant that I had, which was really great, she retired from working with Jack Nicholson because I always chatted with her. I said, you're the perfect assistant. I'd love you to work. One day I want somebody just like you. And then she called me once and she says, well, I retired and now I can work with you. I said, you're kidding, that's great. So you never know where talent is going to come from.
Speaking of Jeremy, the gentleman who raised the question before through Facebook, he had a follow-up comment on that, and he said, actually, the fire is a great analogy for that because it's a time-setting device that allows people to moderate a time of congregation, and the fire reminds us all that even we are many, we're still all together one, which I think is a wonderful follow-up comment on what you just mentioned.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And I'm sure we all agree there's not one of us that can't look at a candle, look at a flame when we light our cigars and just be mesmerized by that, because truly our whole evolution, I believe, started with fire. Fire is energy. Fire was a place to gather. Fire was a place to work out everything. Cognizance. Fire allowed us to cook meat. And if we couldn't cook meat, our stomachs spends all their time and effort digesting that food. But since we could cook meat, I studied this. It was really fascinating. Met this guy who was telling me all this stuff. We could actually spend less energy on the body digesting raw meats, and this energy could go to the brain. So we could then start to evolve and create and, you know, do what we've been able to do. So we owe a lot to fire, a lot to fire. And it's cool that we can enjoy something that's stayed the same for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, and it's lit the same way with the same fire. And, you know, we all share that in our DNA.
Talking about some of these surrounding aspects that make for an overall experience and for a mesmerizing and memorable experience, what would you think about creating like these multi-sensory cigar experiences, and how do you try to curate an experience that is meaningful and mesmerizing beyond just the product, whether it is one of your wonderful humidors or one of your cigars? How do you create that perfect overall setting?
Well, I think what you're doing here with these great experiences and sensory experiences, and I have a friend, he's from Vienna, Roland Graf. He writes a lot for Cigar Journal. He mesmerized me with Reinhold. We were there in a beautiful small village in Austria, and there's a beautiful lake there, and it was a tasting of all the finest champagnes of the world with cigars. And I was just like, wow, trying all these different cigars, and pairing it with the champagne, and he led us through this incredible journey of taste and experience and brand knowledge. And we're friends to this date. He comes to my events in Kitzbühel and he covers them, and it's always such a joy to see him and share his ideas and to be at the master and like listen to what he has to say about the pairing of whether it's tea or chocolate or rum, or, you know, it's fantastic. So I think things that you do that can accentuate, besides hanging out with your friends, there's nothing like that. But if you then pair it with a great spirit, I mean, Pete Johnson and I, we hang out with Joe Wilbur and the boys. He brings his Willet over, which is a really great bourbon. It's one of the best in the world, I would say. And he's got this backpack full of 3 different kinds of beer. Pete is laughing right now if he's still there, because it's so fun to be able to experience and enjoy some of the best of the best with a great cigar. Because I've always said there's a magic that happens between a cigar and a spirit, or champagne, if you will. And I believe that the spirit will be more thoroughly enjoyed because of the taste of the tobacco, and vice versa. So they work together to enhance each other's potential. And that's why I love having these kind of experiences that you mentioned, with that in mind, and just tasting the cigar and then seeing, wow, I didn't taste that in that cigar before. I was having that special Willet. And so that's, to me, great ways to even continue our enjoyment and our experience. It never ends. It absolutely never ends. 38 years later, I'm learning stuff every day. I was in the Dominican Republic early March, and my mouth was hanging open. I was like a school kid. I never knew that existed, or that things could be done in that particular way with that kind of mindset and vision. Amazing. So bravo to you having these experiences.
As some people always say, we're all apprentices of the leaf, aren't we? And even after 38 years in the industry, you're still learning every single day. And I mean, that's the wonderful thing about it. And as long as we live, there's always something to learn, and there's always knowledge to be gathered. But I'm curious, especially the pairing thing that you mentioned before, it's become a bit of a trend in the last couple of years. And with 38 years of experience in the industry, you've seen it all. You've seen the boom in the late 90s. You've seen numbers declining. And then this whole realm of the cigar pairings, of drinks, spirits, champagne came along. What other trends do you see coming next in the cigar industry? Or where do you think, on a global level, the industry as such is headed?
I am in all favor of the pairing and the cigar with experiences, whether you are, so for example, I'm a partner with Rolls-Royce, and we're friends, and every year they ask me to come up to their villa, bring the cigars, bring the conversation and the stories, because at the end of the day, it's all about sharing and exchanging stories. I think that's what we love most about socializing. And that whether I would love to see that for cigars continue to be integrated into moments of victory, celebration, have that same idea. You have a baby, and then you have a special cigar, you give it out to everybody and stuff. And so I see that happening more and more. The pairing is just perfect. It's getting more and more popular, like you say, and I think it's fantastic. And I think we'll see it with not only with foods and consumables and things we can drink and eat, but food, for example, but also in locations, for example. I think it's extraordinarily pleasurable to enjoy a cigar at someone's home, for example, or at an iconic location around the world with a beautiful view. And you're just like, wow, I'm in heaven, or go to Dominican Republic and just, have those moments. So I think I see that for the future of cigars, really integrating into great moments in our lives, celebration, bonding, joining, all the most important things that I consider are most valuable in life. And again, whether it's a car show or a fancy charity event in Monaco, the idea of a cigar, what could be better? And it gives a certain kind of element of that. Even people who not really into cigars, they can appreciate the fact there's a loosening up, if you will, without the alcohol effect, which is really cool,
Before you said that you felt at some point, even when it was 20 years back, that you had pretty much produced a humidor for every person out there and every single person you always wanted to design a humidor for. If you were to choose one person, dead or alive, probably somebody back in the days, who would you love to design a humidor for?
It's so easy and obvious, you guys. Come on, Winston Churchill. And that was Winston
and what
Churchill.
would that humidor look like?
Oh man, it would be spectacular. Is all I can say. It would make him. It would make him crazy. It would represent something, maybe different moments in his careers and his life, and that extraordinary journey that he went on, and he took the world with him, and his vision and the commitment. The funny guy. He was the funniest guy I know. The wit and wisdom of Winston Churchill. You guys got to go. Everybody's got to read it. It's hysterical. I mean, the way he looked at things, the never giving up stuff. It's unprecedented, and the fact that he enjoyed every second of it with a great cigar, and it was a great pleasure to meet his granddaughter. She was speaking in London at a college, and I was randomly invited to that. I don't know. You want to go see Winston Churchill's granddaughter? Of course. And her great stories of her grandfather and how it applied to the kids in college in this college were just very timely and so relevant for today and for eternity. Of course, when I had an opportunity to do an event in London, I said to myself, Winston Churchill's granddaughter, how do I get her? I got to get her to come. So I got her number, found her number, and called her. And it was really lucky because she said, what's your budget? I said, well, what would it take to get you to come? Eddie and Edward of Davidoff were there. My friends who owned the whiskey company were there, and it was in this beautiful hotel in London. And we had a dining room, only 12 people. And there was some people from the press and some very important guests of this hotel, the Jumeirah Carlton, which is a well-known hotel over there. And I said, I'm doing this great tasting event out there, and I'd love you to come and share some of those moments of your grandfather. And of course, we had the Queen of Whiskey in the house with Glenfiddich. And I said, Glenfiddich will be there. Two of your grandfather's favorite things. What will it take? She says, 20,000 pounds. I says, whoa, really? Can we trade? So anyway, I worked out a good deal with her. And the only reason I did, this is why. She said, what date it is again? I said, it's November 30. And she was quiet. So, that's when you have to learn to really shut up when you're talking to somebody about money. They get quiet. And then I shut up. I didn't say anything. She said, do you know what date that is? I said, yes, November 30. She said, that's my grandfather's birthday. So then I knew I had a chance. And so I paid her some, and I gave her a bunch of humidor and some cigars. And I said, bring your book. Everybody's going to be excited to meet you. So she was a surprise guest. She said, stay for 5 minutes. I said, just stay for 5 minutes, take some pictures, sign some autographs and stuff. She ended up sitting down, and she had 20 pages, just like her grandfather, so prepared. She had 20 pages of scripts, a script written about cigars and whiskey and how that related to her grandfather's life. I mean, she has written books on her grandfather, movies about her grandfather. Her name is Celia Sandys. So fabulous. She told stories about in the car with him while he's enjoying cigars, how he had cigars and whiskey in prison in South Africa, and how that really was a part of his life. So, that was, if I could make a humidor, it would be to honor him. And Randolph, the CEO of Davidoff, introduced me a few years back to Randolph Churchill, who is also direct descendant. And Randolph was telling me about a very special humidor that he had from his grandfather. And of course, I'm like rubbing my hands. Oh my God, I gotta see that. I told the great CEO of Davidoff, Beat, how is she? I said, Beat, we got to make a collection, Davidoff collection after that humidor. So that would be one of my next dreams, I'd say, to make a Churchill humidor.
Yeah, and what a wonderful coincidence with that date as well. I mean, Pete Johnson was here before, and it's almost like a story of the K222, that special number that he had with his dogs. Like he's very much into these numbers. What would be the one?
People wonder. They say, Daniel, what the hell? 38th anniversary. Nobody celebrates a 38th anniversary. It's usually 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever. I says, no, 38. And then they're interested to know why. And I can tell you why, because I was one of the luckiest guys in the world. On my 38th birthday, I had my first and only daughter, 38 years old. So I wanted to celebrate this milestone of really my greatest achievement ever is having the honor and the privilege to be a father and to be Julia's
That's
father.
wonderful. What would be the one trick or the one part of the character of Winston Churchill that we could all learn from and take away from this call?
The vision. The guy had unrelenting vision from what I know and what I've read. And I've been pretty big connoisseur of his writings and his work. The guy was an artist. He was an amazing human being. He would take an insult and turn it into the funniest thing, but he would like not accept the stuff he told Lady Astor at the dinner table when she, he had a lot of haters too, like anybody in politics, anybody trying to change things. He, like Lady Astor, a very rich woman, many of you probably know the Astor family, and she said, Winston, if I was your husband, I would put poison in your tea. And Winston, of course, came right back, not even a second later. He said, Lady Astor, if I was your husband, I'd drink it. So, I mean, the wit and the being funny through crisis and being funny through our challenges of our life and kind of like trying to find humor in it, even during this Corona. I've seen some really funny videos and some funny material out there. And I think it's just wonderful because we have to make light of our lives and of ourselves, especially, So it would be this funny humor, his unrelenting determination. I mean, think of it. The guy went from hero to zero in England. He was like thrown out. They like didn't want him around. And then they asked him to come back. And he did. I mean, how many people have a small enough ego to like be totally unappreciated, be sent away and coming back? I mean, see that movie Oldman that Gary Oldman did. It's just fantastic. And never give up.
Back to what you said at the very beginning. Exactly. And like you said at the beginning, it's all about these challenges and you learn from them and you only grow stronger by the rejection and by people not believing in you. Haters gonna hate. And for some people, it's actually like you gotta earn that, right? How do you deal with negativity once it arouses?
Yeah, I don't like anybody hating me. And I always love peace and harmony. Like with my team, with my family, with my personal life. It's like really important for harmony. So I work at it. And a friend of mine who's one of the smartest men in the world, he told me communication is everything. So it all starts with communicating. And then that being said, communicating is not screaming your message out. It's timing. It's when to say it, how to communicate it, how to couch the words. Even somebody that could be a so-called enemy, there's diplomacy that you can take and you can really do it all through communication. So I'd say that's how I deal with it. I try to communicate, and if I'm really emotional, I just try to shut my mouth because that's the biggest problem. Is if I talk too much, then let time pass, and then you'll come up with hopefully a peaceful solution.
Speaking of
and
peaceful
it definitely
solutions,
light up a cigar immediately, and then you're immediately dialed down 10 notches, and you're ready for peace.
What a wonderful point that you're making here. I fully agree. And we still got something that we need to solve, and it's your raffle.
The
right?
raffle.
So
Absolutely.
we had a lot of people commenting, sending us their birthday, and we actually had one gentleman who said today is his birthday. So I would like
happy
to invite
birthday. What's
that
his
particular
name?
person to now unmute and speak up. And I guess we need some ID or some form of validation in order for the raffle to be.
He's part of our cigar family. No one would lie. Don't forget. This is like an honor system. And we don't need any proof. We just need his word, and that's good enough for me. What are you bringing him on?
I fully agree. So let's just find the gentleman. I think he's still on the call. I think it was
That's
Harold,
awesome.
right? Harold, are you still there?
Yeah.
Hey guys.
There he is.
Harold, happy birthday.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tell us, where are you
Happy
celebrating
birthday,
right now?
At home.
Where is that?
It's Miami.
Awesome.
How you guys been? Good?
Been really good. I can't wait to get this humidor and this very special cigar to you. And then you got to come back on the show, or at least tell everybody what you think of it, and let them know you got it.
Sounds great.
So what are you doing for the rest of the day besides lighting up your favorite cigar?
Just watching movies. There's nothing else to do.
It could be worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Good deal, Harold. That's awesome. You know, a guy called Harold saved my life. So that's a very special name. Yeah. I almost died. I almost died. Without him, I'd be not here. It's a great story. I was 12 years old, just came back before I went to Tahiti on my father's sailboat, 40-foot sailboat. I had really bad stomach cramps, and I wasn't one much to complain. So I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm not doing good. So she took me down to the Malibu emergency. This doctor, he saw me on a Saturday. He says, oh, send him home, have him take an aspirin and go to bed, give him, take his temperature, throw him in the bathtub, real cold, and he'll be fine. My mom walked out of that doctor's office and she said to herself, my son never complains. He has a very high threshold for pain. I'm going to take him into Santa Monica where there's a real hospital and get him checked out. So we went in emergency. Within 2 hours, I was on the table with a ruptured appendicitis, and the doctor's name was Harold Isaac.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. God bless Harold's, all of you out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Harold, I have good news for you. There's plenty of other stuff to do besides watching movies, because we will be back live here at the Light 'em Up Lounge. We've got some fabulous sessions coming up. Tomorrow we have Philip Duff, my very good friend and hospitality professional, consultant, businessman. He's got his own Genever brand in the US, and he'll be joining us for what's called the future of socialization. Great call tomorrow evening. Then on Tuesday, we have Marco Bilic from the Slow Smoking World Championship. That's on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we have another fantastic session with Dion from Illusion Cigars. Daniel, I'm sure you know Dion pretty well, and he will be joining us on Wednesday. And then Friday is a very special Bovida session with all the founding members of Bovida and Rob Gagne and Benjamin from Bovida over in Berlin. So we've got a super exciting week ahead. I'm just so glad that we get to kick off that week and our Easter celebration together with you, Daniel. It's an incredible pleasure and honor.
Well, you have a great action-packed week coming up. It's very exciting, and it's really awesome. So enjoy, everybody. Happy Easter, happy Passover, happy hope. Happy hope.
It's so wonderful to have you on board, Daniel, and we're already 2 hours into our call. I can't believe it. So many fantastic stories from you, and so many things to learn and take away from this fantastic call. And I really appreciate all you guys being part of it. And please, if you have any more questions, put them in the chat box. Let us know. Unmute your mic. Over at Facebook, if you still have some questions, please bring them up so we can relay it to Danielle. And before we wrap things off, I have one final question. I love the fact, Daniel, that you talk about affordable luxury. What does luxury mean to you?
Luxury has nothing to do with money, in my opinion. Luxury is a feeling of the heart. Luxury is a feeling of being in the moment. Luxury is time. And this is my definition of luxury. And when you take it to a financial sense of pricing or products and whatnot, I hate raising prices. I hate it, hate it, hate it. People always saying, why don't you raise your prices? And, I really want to create as much a part of people's lives and bring them luxury, and then bring it at a affordable price. And something that's important in my life is to get great value and quality at a good price. That's something that I think guys are really into that, especially. And but I just want to be known and remembered as being a part of sharing luxury and sharing the best times and being a part of people's lives. And we can do it through cigars. We can do it through humidors, especially humidors. They last for generations. I saw some pictures last week of a humidor from 1984. It was vial system. The gentleman said, my father passes on to me. And when my team brought it to me, I was so excited. I said, please tell him we want to buy it. He said it's not for sale, but anyway, affordable luxury is super important. I think moving forward in our life and in our world, I think people understand and appreciate value, and kind of overpaying for stuff is not in my DNA.
Thank you very much for everything that you shared with us, Daniel. It's been a fantastic 2-hour-long session. Thank you for your contribution to our beloved industry, and thanks to everybody for joining us yet again. Laurent, you just had another question. Please bring that one up. Sorry.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Last time it was in Vegas. We for the event in the Davidoff event in 2018, I think so. Just one question. This year I tried to join you to the Kids Bull, but unfortunately it was already full. I'm always too late. Are you going to do these events next year?
Every year. Now I can give you plenty of notice. You have many months to plan, and it will be right towards the end of January when they do the Hahnenkamm, which is the world's most dangerous downhill ski race. It's a super fun weekend, and hope to see you there next year. You can put it on your calendar now. So
okay, that's great. That's great. I will try to have a place for next year. Hope so.
I look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully all of you, as many of you can come. It would be just wonderful to see my partners and best friends there.
Thank you.
We'll all see you there, hopefully. And Jeremy on Facebook, he just posted another great comment. He told us to remind everybody that you could possibly share the feed and the Light Up initiative to your private cigar groups as well. And please be reminded to set an auto notification for these posts so you know about our upcoming sessions. And I can only tell you just how much I appreciate all you guys being part of our community and being part of this global cigar family. It means a lot to me. Us. I would like to give a big shout out to Sabine as well, who's doing a tremendous job on running this whole show, and she's really like the lady in the background doing a fantastic job. And she had a bit of a hard day today with her allergy, so all the best to you, Sabine. You're doing an incredibly job, and we're sending lots of love and strength to you, and keep up the amazing work. Thanks for everything that you're doing. So thank you so much yet again. It's been a fantastic Easter special. Daniel, thanks for everything that you do, and we'll.
A great honor, and thank you all for sharing part of your Sunday together. It's really been beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Awesome. All the best. Keep it lit, guys.
All the best, Daniel. Take care, and happy Easter to all of you guys.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you guys.